Do you know what Instagram, Spotify, Netflix, and NASA all have in common? They all use Python. Python is one of the world's most popular programming languages, and for good reasons. It is powerful, it is versatile, and most importantly, it is easy to learn. So what if I told you that in the next hour, you could go from knowing absolutely nothing about programming to writing your very own interactive Python programs? Hi, my name is Jason Joshi. With years of teaching as well as industry experience in the field of computer science, I am here to be your guide to teach you the absolute basics of Python programming. Now let's be real. You won't be building the next Netflix in 60 minutes. But my promise to you is this. By the end of this video, you will understand the fundamental building blocks of Python, and you will have the confidence and the foundation to tackle any beginner level project you can think of. We are going to prove that you can learn to code. Now, if you are ready, let's get started.
Alright, so first things first is our coding environment. So you can install Python on your local system and also install a nice IDE and work on it. But we are going to skip all that complicated setup and use a free online tool that gets us coding in seconds. So we'll use this fantastic online compiler called Replit. So you can open your browser and go to replit.com, which is an amazing IDE. So here when you come to Replit, this is the kind of screen that you are greeted with. So you can click on Create App and you will get a screen like this, and go to the tab which says Choose a Template. Now here you get different templates that you can choose from. So here we will choose Python template. Now you can give any name for your app. Let's call it My Python Programs and click on Create App. Now you see you have a text editor that is ready for you. We also have an AI assistant here. We'll not make use of the assistant, so let's just close it. And here this is the editor where you can type your code. And here if you see, you have a button that says Open Files. And if you click on that, you can see these are the files that are created for you. And there is a default file called main.py which is already created. And this is the file where we will be writing most of the code in this video. So let us close this files section for now. And here this is the editor, and once you click on run, you will also get the console or the output window on the right hand side, which we will see in a while. Alright, so before we begin, let me just walk you through the sections that we will be covering in this video. So first was the introduction and setup, which we already completed. We are going to make use of the Replit online compiler, and then we will come to the next section, which is your first program and syntax, to get you introduced to the syntax of Python. Then we'll come to variables and data types to show how to store data easily. And then we'll come to user input and string formatting to make our programs interactive and display information cleanly using F strings. And then we will come to conditional logic, where we will introduce decision making with if, elif, and else. And then we will also discuss collections in Python, namely list and tuples. And also we will discuss what is the concept of mutability, and also we will discuss loops to understand how to loop through collections. And then we will end with a small mini project which will be a number guessing game, where we will combine all the concepts that you would have learned in this video. Alright, so with that, let's dive into the first section, that is your first program and syntax. Alright, so we come back to our Replit editor here, and let us type the traditional first program for every programmer, which is the Hello World program. So let me type here print, and within parentheses, Hello World. Okay, now take a look at this syntax. I've just written print, and within parentheses I have written hello world, and hello world, as you can see, is enclosed within double quotes. It's a very simple syntax. Let me run and see by clicking this big green run button, and let's see what happens. There you have the output. This is the console window that I was talking about, or your output window, where you can see the output in this Replit IDE. And here you see hello world is printed. And that's it. You have now become an official Python programmer. Now notice how simple that was. No semicolons and no weird brackets. We just tell the computer to print the text that we give it, and it has done it very easily and very beautifully. Alright, now two very incredibly important things in Python. First of all, let's talk about comments. What are comments in Python? If you type a hash symbol and type anything after that, and let me click on run again, and you see this line was actually ignored by the compiler. It did not print anything over here. So whatever you type after this hash is treated as a comment. Now what is a comment? Comment is like a note that you can leave for other programmers or others who will be reading your code. So hash symbol is used for typing comments in Python. Alright, that was the first thing that I wanted you to know. Now, second and the very most important rule that you should remember in Python. And what is that? Indentation matters. Now what is indentation? In other languages like C, C++, if you have seen, you must have noticed that we use curly braces to group code. Curly braces means curly braces like this, and within this you must have written the code. But in Python, we don't use these curly braces. Instead of that, we use white spaces like tabs or spaces. We will see that in action in a few minutes, but burn this into your mind, make it very clear into your mind, and make sure that you remember that indentation is how Python structures code. With the help of indentation, you'll be able to tell Python that this is the block of code that belongs to a particular function, or this is the way the code is structured. You'll see that as we move ahead, but just keep that in mind. Alright, so with that, I hope you got an introduction to the simple syntax of Python and also what are comments and indentation. Now let's move to the next section, that is variables and data types. Now programs need to work with data. We store data in something known as a variable. A variable is just like a name for a piece of information, or we can think of it like a box in which you can store a piece of information. And in Python, creating a variable is super easy. Let's take an example code and understand how to do this. Alright, so here is a small program that I have typed out for you. It begins with a comment which says a variable is like a label for a value. Remember what was comments, which I already told you in the previous section. Now all these things that are written after the hash will be simply ignored by the compiler. It is just for your reference or for somebody who is reading your code to understand what this is about. Now, here is the interesting part. Look at the second line here. Username equal to code master. Now, what does this mean? You are declaring a variable called username. That means you are creating a box, and that box is called username. The name you give to that box is username. And inside that box, you are trying to store some value. And what is that value here? The value is a string or a text called code master. So when it is a string, you have to enclose it within double quotes. That is why you see these double quotes over here. Okay, next, I want to create another variable. So imagine it as another box, and I call it user underscore age, user age. And I want to put the value 30 into it. So user age equal to 30. So it is an integer. This is treated as an integer. Since you put 30, 30 is a integer or a whole number. So user age will be an integer type variable. Okay, and price equal to 19.95. I declare another variable called price, and we assign the value 19.95 into this. So this will be treated as a float data type. Float is a data type that supports decimals. Okay, so here we see we have decimal values. So this decimal value is stored into price. So price is a float type variable. Now next, I have another variable called is_active. Is_active equal to true. So I assign the value true to it. So the moment I assign the value true to it, this is treated as a Boolean variable. Now what is a Boolean data type? A Boolean data type is a type of data that can hold just two values, like true or false, 0 or 1, and so on. It will just have two values like this. Alright, now let us just print them to see what we have stored. So we have stored these values into these variables. Now I want to print some of them on the screen. So we have already seen how to make use of the print function in the previous section. Now here let's see how to make use of it. I type print and within parentheses I give the name of the variable. So print username. What is username? Username is this variable which stores the value code master. So when we print username, it should ideally print code master. And then in the next line I am printing user age. So when we print this user age, it is supposed to print 30. Okay, and you can also find out what is the type of data Python thinks it is. For that we use a syntax like this: print within parentheses type and within parentheses the variable that you want to check. So here price is a variable that we have declared. So we put price here and type print type of price, and then Python will tell you what is the type of variable it is. Let us run this and see what is the output. Now when I run this, you see print username. What was username? Username had the value code master in it. So code master is printed. Then next, print user age. What was user age? User age had the value 30. So 30 is printed. And here I said print the data type of the price variable. Now price variable was treated as a floating point, as I told you. So that is why it says class float. It is of the floating type data. Now see, we did not have to tell Python that user age was a number or username was a string or price was a float. It was able to understand it by itself. So this is called dynamic typing, and it is one of the things that makes Python so fast and easy to write. So the main types that you will use are strings, like you have seen here, then integers and floats, booleans, and so on. Okay, so if you were to do this in another language, in most of the other common languages, you would have to declare the variable by specifying the type. You would have to say like username is a string and then I'm going to store this value into it. You would have to say that user age is an integer and then you would have to store 30 into it. But you did not have to do any of those in Python. You just decided a name for a variable and you just directly assigned the value to it, and Python dynamically understood or dynamically assigned the data type for those variables. See how simple and powerful Python is. So I hope you're getting a hang of this Python, and you see that you did not have to end any statements with semicolons like we do in some other programs. You did not have to type any curly braces to group the code or anything. The syntax is very straightforward and very simple. So that is why I said, for good reasons, Python is one of the most easy programming languages that you can learn. So you have made a good decision in deciding to learn Python. Okay, now let's move to the next section, that is user input and string formatting. So in the sections that we have discussed so far, we have been assigning values to variables and we have been just printing them on the screen. Now let's make our programs interactive. That is, we can ask the user for information using the input function. And then let's see how we can display them on the screen. Let's try to understand the syntax and how it is done. Okay, so here is a simple program that I have typed here to make you understand how to take user inputs and also how to format strings in Python. So here is what our program is going to do. Our program is going to ask the user, what is your name? And then we are going to print the name of the user, saying hello followed by the name. Then we are going to ask the user, how old are they? And we are going to take the input as their age. Then we want to tell them how old they are going to be in 5 years. So to the age that they give us, we are going to add 5 to that, and we want to finally display the text that in 5 years you will be this many years old. Okay, let's see how to do that. Let's start with the first line here, where we are going to ask the user what is their name, and we are going to get that name and print it on the screen. For that, we are going to make use of this input function. Now let's see how this input function works. Here, I type input, and within parentheses and within inverted commas, double inverted commas, I type a text which has to be displayed on the screen. So here, instead of using print, we are just directly writing this text here, which will be also displayed on the screen. So what this will do is, it is going to display on the screen what is your name. And when the user provides a name, this input function will take that name and store it into this variable called name. Okay, so with the help of Python's dynamic typing, Python already will know that this name is going to be a string. So we don't have to worry about that. Alright, so let's just understand the syntax again. Input, within parentheses, you type what you want to type within double inverted commas. So this should print what is your name. Okay, now I want to print on the screen hello followed by the name. So if the user entered the name as John, I want to print hello John. How to do that? We use the print function here for that. Using the print function, we type print, and then within parentheses, let's see what we do. I want to type hello. So hello is the hard-coded text that I want to type, and I type it here, hello, comma. So you see, I put this hello within double inverted commas. Now I want to print the name of the user which the user had entered. And where is it stored? It is stored in the variable called name. Now when I want to print a variable here, I have to use the plus symbol. Why am I using plus? Because here I have a hard-coded string first, and now from that I am switching to a variable. At that time I have to use the plus symbol. So plus name, which is the variable. And at the end I also want to print an exclamation mark. Now again, from this variable I am transitioning to a hard-coded text. So there again I have to use a plus symbol, and within double quotes I type the exclamation mark. So just keep in mind, when we are transitioning from a hard-coded text to a variable, use plus. And also when you are transitioning from a variable to a hard-coded value, again use plus. Okay, so it will print hello followed by the name. Alright, now I want to get the age of the user. For that we use the same input function like we did in the first line here. So input, how old are you? We want to ask this. So this will be printed on the screen. How old are you? Within double quotes. And using the input function, whatever age the user enters will be stored into this variable called age string. Okay, this is any name that you can give. So the name of the variable can be anything that you decide. So here I'm just calling it age string. Alright, so the age is stored into the age string variable using the input function. Now what did we say we want to do? Our program should add 5 to the age that the user entered, and then we want to display that. So for that we have to perform a calculation here. So to the age string, which is the variable that the user entered, we have to add 5, and then I want to store it into a new variable called age in 5 years. So we make another variable here called age in 5 years, and to that I am assigning age string, which is the age that the user entered, plus 5. Okay, this is the addition operator, plus 5. Alright, now we want to print this all on the screen. Now let's make use of the print function again. Now we saw that we printed the name here using the print function, and when we were transitioning from hard-coded text to variable, we were making use of the plus symbol to handle that. But there is another way of doing it using an F string, and that is what we are going to show in this print statement. So here notice that after print, once a parenthesis opens, I type F. Okay, so that signifies that we are going to use a F string. Now here I want to type wow, comma, then name of the user, exclamation mark, then in 5 years you will be this much years old. So if the user's name was John and if his age was 30, I want to print wow John, in 5 years you will be 35 years old. Okay, now let's see how the F string works. Type F here, that is a part of the syntax, and as we usually do, start with the double quotes and then wow, comma. Now instead of using this plus symbol, we use a curly braces and within the curly braces you specify the variable that you want to print here. So within curly braces I type name, so it would take the name from here. So whatever name that the user had entered will be printed here, an exclamation mark. Then in 5 years you will be, again I want to make use of a variable here which is age in 5 years. So again that age in 5 years variable, we put it inside curly braces, okay, followed by the hard-coded text years old, and then we close the double quotes. So this is a easier and a simpler or a better way to print both hard-coded text and variables using a print statement. So here we don't need to make use of this plus like we did. You can just start with this F, and whenever you want to print a variable, put it inside curly braces, and then the rest of the things can be just typed as it is, and just one double quote here, one double quote here. Okay, now let's run this and see if it is working as expected. Now when I press run button, it says what is your name. So let me type the name as John and press enter, and it says hello John. So this one was printed, hello, then the name which is John that we entered. So remember, John is stored in the variable called name. Now it came to the next line which is going to ask us how old are you. So it asked how old are you from this line number 4. Now let me enter the age as 25 and press enter, and what happened here? There is an error. And what does the error say? Can only concatenate string, not integer to string. Okay, so this was a deliberate error in order to make you understand a very important thing in Python. So here, whenever you use the input function, the input function here always takes the input as a string or a text. Okay, whatever input that you get from an input function will always be stored as a string data type. So when we said how old are you, and when we took the input into the age string, this age string is treated as a string and not an integer. And in the next line, what did we try to do here in line number 6? We were trying to add 5 to this age string. Now 5 can be added to age string only if age string is an integer type variable. We cannot add 5 to a string type variable. So what to do here? We have to convert this age string variable from string to an integer type. So let us do that here. So here I have also written the comments for you to understand. Input function always gives us a string, and we need to convert it to a number to do math operations. Now what I am doing here is this age string that you got from the user, I am converting it into integer data type. So this is the way to do it. Integer int, and within parenthesis I specify the variable which is age string, and the converted variable I am storing it to the variable called age. So I have a new variable called age here which stores the age string which is converted to integer. Now look at this code and see if it is correct. No, there is still a small mistake here. What is it? Now to this age I want to add 5, not to age string. So age in 5 years should be age plus 5, not age string plus 5. So let me remove that string part. It should be age plus 5. So I hope you understood. We got the input from the user of their age, which was stored as a string into this age string variable. Then we converted that age string into an integer here and stored it to the variable called age. And then to that age we added 5, and we stored that new age to age in 5 years variable. And then the print statement is the same. Now let's run this and see if that error is resolved. Let's do the same thing again. The name is John. How old are you? 25. And now you see when I press enter, we have our output. Wow, John, in 5 years you will be 30 years old. So you see, now the conversion took place properly, the addition took place properly, and we were able to get the proper output. Okay, so this is how you can take input in Python. You see, we can make our program interactive by taking input from the user. And also you have seen how to format strings. This is one way to format strings, and this is another way to format strings. So this is the easier and the better way that you have seen. Okay, so that was about taking user input in Python and also about formatting strings. And very important thing, keep in mind that whenever you take an input using the input function, it is stored as a string, and if you want to do some calculation or math to that, you have to convert it to a number. Alright, so with that we come to the end of user input and string formatting. Now let's come to the next section, that is conditional logic. Now this is the fun part of making decisions. So we want to make some decisions in our programs. That means, let's say that when something is in some way, we want to do some operations, or when something is in another way, we want to do some other operations. That means depending upon the situation, we want to make different decisions. So for that we use the if or else if and else statements in Python. And here is where we are also going to introduce the indentation. I told you in the very beginning to keep in mind that indentation is how Python structures code. But till now, we have not seen how indentation works in any of the examples that we have taken. But here we are going to take it and make it clear. So let's take an example program and understand the concept of conditional logic and also how indentation works in Python. Alright, so here is an example program to understand this topic. Now let me first tell you what this program does. In this program, we are going to take the age of a user as input, and if the age that the user entered is greater than or equal to 18, we want to print you are an adult. And if the age is less than 18, we want to print you are not an adult. And if the user has entered the age as either 0 or some negative number or something, then we want to print that he has entered an invalid age. So that is what we are going to do here. So let's understand line by line. First line, we are taking an input from the user. Now here you see that there is a different way in which we have declared the input function here. So as I already told you in the previous section, whenever you get any input using the input function, it is treated as a string data type, and you have to convert it to number if you want to perform some math on it. So here definitely we want to perform some math on the age. We want to compare it, right, with 18. So because of that, it has to be converted to an integer. So instead of doing it in two separate lines, we can do it in a single line like this. So we ask the user to enter the age using the input function, and whatever the user entered as age is converted from a string into an integer here, and it is stored into the age variable. So in one line itself, you have accomplished. So you see int open parenthesis, then input open parenthesis, and within double quotes enter your age, which will be displayed on the screen. Then close this parenthesis for this input and close this parenthesis for the int. So what essentially happens here, we ask the user to enter the age using the input function. Python gets the age, and then that age is converted to an integer here, and that integer value is stored into this age variable. Okay, so we got the age in the proper data type that we want. Now let's come to the conditional logic. Now coming to the conditional logic, in Python we have this conditional logic called if, elif, and else. Now what happens here? Let's see. You type if followed by the condition that you want to check. So if, and the condition we check is age greater than or equal to 18. So we want to print you are an adult if the age is greater than or equal to 18. So this thing that you see here is a comparison operator. We are checking if age is greater than or equal to 18. So if age is greater than 18, or even if it is equal to 18, this condition will be true. So notice the syntax, if followed by the condition, and then you see the use of the colon here. After the condition, the colon is there to indicate that this is the end of the condition. Now notice the colon here after the condition. You have to put a colon here after each condition. Now notice the indentation here, print you are an adult. Now if this condition is true, then you are an adult will be printed on the screen using the print function. Now what do we mean by indentation? You see that after this condition there is this much of a space, right? After this much of a space, I have written this print you are an adult. This much of a space from the starting of the line till here. Now even if you want to write another statement below this, if it belongs to this same if statement, it has to come in this proper indentation. Like for example, I want to say you are an adult and you can vote. I have to write this in this same intent, okay, in the same line. So if I put a space here and if I start typing from here, then it would be wrong because the indentation is now not correct. It is not following the same intent. Okay, that will become wrong. It will not belong to that same if statement. And also if I go this side, then also it will be wrong. I cannot start writing from here. This also will be wrong. So that is what we mean by indentation in Python. Now next we come to the elif. Elif stands for else if. That means if this condition is not true, if this condition fails, then it will come to the next condition, that is the elif condition, and check if this condition is true. Now what are we checking here? This is the condition where we check if the user has entered an invalid age. Okay, if the user has entered the age as either 0 or less than 0, then we want to print that it is an invalid age. So here we check if age is less than or equal to 0, then the condition ends here, so colon. And what is the statement of this condition? Print invalid age entered. So again, look at the indentation. We are starting it here. Okay, and if you want to have another statement under this else if, you have to type from here. Okay, this is the indentation that you have to follow. All right, now we come to the last part, which is else. Now this else statement would run if both the above conditions were false. That means if age is greater than or equal to 18 is false, and else if age is less than or equal to 0 is also false. If both of the conditions fail, then it comes to the else part, and then it will print you are not an adult. This is what happens. Again, notice the indentation. We start from here, and if you want to print something below this, again make sure you start from this particular indent. Okay, now let us run this code and see if it is working as expected. Let me click the run button. Now it says enter your age. Let me enter an age greater than 18. Let's say 23. So it printed you are an adult. So what happened? It came and checked the age. We entered age as 23, which was stored into this age variable. Remember, it was first taken as a string, converted to an integer, and then stored here. Then it checked if the age is greater than or equal to 18. This condition was true. So it printed you are an adult. And since it was true, it will not come to the else if or the else part. It will just print this and break out of the conditional statements. So the program ends here. Let's run it again with another input. Let's enter the age as 12 and see. Now it says you are not an adult. So here what happened? Age was 12. So it first checked here, is age greater than or equal to 18? False. This condition is false. Age is 12. It is not greater than or equal to 18. So it came to the elif part and it checked if age is less than or equal to 0. Is this age, which is 12, less than or equal to 0? No. This condition is also false. So it will come to the last condition, which is the else part, and then it will just print you are not an adult. Okay. Now let's take one more example. Let's say a user entered the age as -1. Okay, which definitely is an invalid age. It says invalid age entered. So here what happened? It took the age, checked if age is greater than or equal to 18. False. This is not true. So it came to the else if part or the elif part and checked if age is less than or equal to 0. Yes, the age is less than 0. So because of that, this was printed invalid age entered, and it will not come to the else part. So when any of the condition is true, it will just execute the statement inside that, and it will not go to the other conditions. That is how the conditional logic works in Python. Okay, so here we have used some comparison operators like greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and there are other comparison operators that you can use, which is mentioned in the comment here, like equal to, double equal to. Double equal to means you are trying to check if two values are equal to each other. So if you want to, let's say, check if A is equal to B, then you type A equal to B. So don't confuse this with the assignment operator, which is single equal to. Single equal to is used to assign some value to a variable. So here this equal to means assignment operator, and double equal to means it's a comparison operator. And some other comparison operators are exclamation mark equal to, which stands for not equal to. If you want to check if two numbers are not equal, I want to check if A is not equal to B. So I will write A exclamation mark equal to, that is A not equal to B. Then similarly we have greater than and less than, just to check the greater than and the less than. And if you want to check if something is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, you can use this. And also we have logical operators called and, or not, to perform and, or, and not operations, and these are the ones that we have, and these are called logical operators in Python. Alright, so let's come to the next section, that is collections in Python. So far, our variables have held only one piece of data at a time. We have seen that we have declared a variable and stored one piece of information to it. Like for example, in age, we stored the age of one person. In username, we stored the username of one person, and so on. But what if you want to store a whole group of items? For that, we use collections in Python. And there are two most commonly used collections. The most common one is called a list, and the other one is called a tuple. We'll discuss both of them in this section. So let's start with a list. A list is just an ordered collection of items inside square brackets. Let's take an example and try to understand this. So as I told you, a list is a mutable or a changeable collection of items, and they are enclosed within square brackets. So here I create a list called shopping list, and I'm going to put some items inside this. So how do you do it? Open square brackets, and within square brackets you put the items that you want in it, separated by commas. So in the shopping list I want to put some strings. Let's say apples, comma, bread, comma, milk, comma, eggs. Since they are strings, they have to be enclosed within double quotes. As you see here, all of them are enclosed within double quotes, and each of the items are separated using comma, and the whole list is enclosed within square brackets. And then if I just say print shopping list, it should ideally print all the items that are there inside this shopping list collection. Let's run this and see. Yes, you see apples, breads, milk, and eggs. All the items inside this list called shopping list is printed. Okay, now you can also access individual items in the list using their index. Here we have just printed the entire list. What if you wanted to print or access a particular item inside this list? For that, you can use the index of the list. Let's see how to do that. So here, as you can see, I want to access the first item in the list. Let's say apples. I want to access just apples, and I want to access the third item, which is milk. So for that, what I do, I say print shopping list, and within square brackets I specify the index of the item. Now keep in mind, indexing of the items always start from 0. So this is the 0th index, this is the first index, this is the second index, this is the third index. 0, 1, 2, 3. So the first item is actually the 0th one, and here I want to access milk. If I want to access milk, I should actually access the index number 2, because this is 0, 1, 2. So here I am saying print shopping list index of 0, then here print shopping list index of 2. So if I run this code, you see this was from the beginning where we printed the entire list, and here you can see apples and milk is printed because shopping list of 0 is apples and shopping list index 2 is milk. So that is how you can access individual items of a list. Now, the key feature of a list is that it is mutable. Here it says mutable. Mutable is another fancy word for saying changeable. That means if you have a list, you can add items to the list, you can remove items from the list, or you can change the items after you have created the list. So let's take an example to clear this. Now you see, I've written the code for changing an item in the list. So here, what was our shopping list index 1? Index 1 was bread, right? This is 0, this is 1. So I want to change bread to almond milk. So here I say shopping list of index 1, okay? Index should be always mentioned inside square brackets, remember? And I say it is equal to almond milk. So again, almond milk is a string, so I have to specify it within double quotes. Now, if I print the shopping list, it should ideally replace the bread with almond milk. So here this was our initial list which was printed over here. So that was apples, bread, milk and eggs. Now here what I did in line number 7, I changed the index 1, which is bread, to almond milk. So you see, when we print the list again, apples, and then instead of bread, almond milk is printed, and then this milk and eggs are there as it is. So that was for changing an item. Now let's say we want to add an item to the list. So for that we can use this append function, shopping underscore list, which is the name of our list. Then you use a dot operator, dot append, then within parentheses you mention the item that you want to append or add to the list. So here I want to add cheese to the list. So I say shopping list dot append. That means append this cheese, which is a string, that is why it is in double quotes, and that will be appended or added to the list. And if we print the shopping list again, we should also see cheese at the end of the list. So let's run it again here. So here this was the initial shopping list, print the first line. Then this one is after changing the item where bread was changed to almond milk. And lastly, you can see I added cheese, and the cheese is appended at the end of the list. So always remember, when you use this append by itself, it will just add the item to the end of the list. Okay, now let's say we also want to remove something from a list. We have seen how to add, how to change. Now in order to remove, you can use the remove function. So here let's say that I want to remove eggs from the list. So I say shopping list dot remove. Okay, we again use a dot operator and followed by remove. This is the syntax. And then within parentheses you specify the item that you want to remove. So eggs is the item that you want to remove from the list. And then I print shopping list again. So ideally from this last list that we had, eggs should be removed. Let's run it and see. Yes, you see, this was the list that we had, and eggs is removed from the list now. So that is how you can create a list, change items in a list, add items to the list, and also remove items from a list. So this is super flexible. But what if you have data that you never want to change by accident? Here the changes were possible, it was flexible, it was nice. But what if you never want to change it even by accident? Like for example, the coordinates for a specific location. You have a list which has the coordinates of a specific location or the days of a week. You never want to change all those things, right? So for that, Python gives us another collection which is called a tuple. Now tuple is also like a list, but it is immutable. That means it is unchangeable. Once you create a tuple, you cannot change it. And what is the difference? How to declare a tuple? Instead of square brackets, you use parentheses in order to specify that that collection is a tuple. Let's take an example and see how it works. So here is an example of a tuple. I declare a tuple called point in space. Okay, this is the name of the tuple. You can give any name, doesn't matter. And we say equal to, and unlike the list that we discussed, here we use parentheses, not square brackets. So inside the parentheses, I put the values 10, 20, 30. So again, the values or the items are separated using commas. And here these are not strings. That's why we don't put them in double quotes. If they were strings, you would put them in double quotes. Okay. And then you can access the items just like you did for a list. So for example, I want to access, let's say, the first item in the list. So index 0, print point in space of index 0. So here we are trying to print the entire tuple, and then here we want to print just the 0th index of the tuple. So let's just run it and see. So here you see the entire tuple is printed using this print statement, and here in this print statement only the 0th index or the first item of the tuple is printed. Now, like we said, the main difference of a tuple from a list is that it is immutable. That means you cannot change it. So let's see if we try to change it, what happens. So here I have written a line in order to change the 0th index to 5. So here it was 10. I want to change it to 5. This was possible in case of a list. So here if I try to run this, let's see, there is a type error. That means it does not allow you to change anything of a tuple. So this is not allowed in case of tuple. So that is the main difference between a list and a tuple. Both are collection of items, but the only thing is list is mutable or changeable, but a tuple is immutable or unchangeable. Alright, so that was about list and tuple. Now let us come to the next important topic, that is loops in Python. So far we have been seeing that in order to access items in these collections, whether it is a list or a tuple, we were just accessing them using the index one by one. Now, what if you want to work with every item inside a collection? Or what if you want to repeat something again and again? So in order to do that, we can use something known as a loop. So a loop is something that happens or executes again and again until a condition remains true. So we have for loops as well as while loops in Python. Let us start with a for loop, and we'll also take an example of a while loop to make you understand how they work. Alright, so we will make use of the same shopping list and the point in space tuple to understand this example of for loops. Okay, so I want to display each and every items of this list and also each and every items of this tuple. So here I print, here is your shopping list, and here is where we are going to make use of the loop. Now, how does the for loop work? Let's understand. This is the syntax. For, you type for, for, then followed by an iterator. This is like a variable that is going to run over all of these items in the list. So I say for item in shopping list. This is the list that we are going to work with. For item in shopping list. So this item will iterate over each of these items inside the list. So item will first be apples, item will also be bread, then milk, then eggs. Now we say print. This is the f string that we discussed in the beginning. Now if you use f string, the good thing about using f string is you can just start with a double quote and the variable that you want to print can be put inside curly braces. So I say f string, then within double quotes I give this hyphen. So this hyphen will be printed each time, followed by the actual item. What is item? Item is iterator that will go over each of these items in the list. So apples, bread, milk and eggs should be printed. Similarly, let's do the same thing for the tuple also, point in space. So here I want to print the coordinates are, and we use a for loop again. Start with for. Now here the iterator that I am going to use is called coordinate. So remember, this iterator name can be anything. It can be anything. It does not have to be coordinate or item. You can just call it even a single letter like I, J or anything. Okay, it can be anything that you give. So for coordinate in, this in is very important, in point in space. Now point in space is the name of the tuple. So this name is important. In is also important. This can be any name that you choose to give. Now I'm going to print value, the word or the string value colon followed by the coordinate, which will be 10, 20 and 30. So since this is a variable, we are going to put it inside curly braces. So this coordinate iterator will go over each of these items in the tuple 10, 20 and 30. So first time it will be 10, so value 10 will be printed. Second time it will be 20, so value 20 will be printed. Third time it will be 30, so value 30 will be printed. So let's run and see if it is working like we explained. Yes. So here, as you can see, this for loop ran for the shopping list using the item iterator. So this variable item went over apple, bread, milk and eggs, and all of them are printed. Now in the next for loop, we use the iterator called coordinate. So this coordinate ran over 10, 20 and 30 and it printed value followed by the coordinate, which is value 10, value 20 and value 30. So this is how for loops work in Python. So in the beginning, I said that for loops would run as long as some condition is true. But here, what was the condition? We did not see any condition here. So here the condition actually was as long as there are items inside this shopping list. That means as long as there are items here, run this for loop. Similarly, here also, as long as there are some items inside this tuple, continue running it. So the for loop in Python knows how long you have to run it. Okay, so that was about for loops in Python. Now you can also achieve the same thing using a while loop. Now let's take this same example using a while loop. Let's take the example of the list. Let me remove this point in space and let me show you how to do this using while loop. So here is a example of a while loop. Again, we have the shopping list which contains these items and we just print here is your shopping list. Now Here I am going to declare a variable called item and assign it to 0. I am assigning 0 to this variable called item, which will be of the type integer because Python will dynamically make it an integer. Now we say while, then we put a condition over here. Now what is the condition? I have to put a condition saying that while item is less than the length of the shopping list. Now this shopping list is the list that we have, and len gives the length of the shopping list. Length means how many items are there in the shopping list. So here 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 will be the length of the shopping list because there are 4 items in the shopping list. So initially item is 0. So it checks is 0 less than 4, which is the length of the shopping list. It is true. So here also notice the colon which you have to put after the condition. Now is 0 less than 4? True. Since it is true, it will come to the statement. It will print hyphen and shopping list of item. So here we are trying to access the items using its index. Shopping list of item would mean shopping list of 0 because item is 0 in the beginning, and shopping list of 0 means the first index, which is apples. So that will be printed. And then we say item equal to item plus 1. I am incrementing or increasing the value of item by 1 because I want to iterate or go to the next item now. So item was 0. Now here item will become 1. Then it will again come to this condition and check is item less than length of shopping list. What is item now? As I said, item is now 1. 0 plus 1, 1. So is 1 less than 4? Yes, condition is true. So it will again come here and print shopping list of item. What is item? 1. Shopping list of 1. What is shopping list of 1? Shopping list of 1 is bread. Shopping list of 0 was apples. Shopping list of 1 is bread. So it will come and print shopping list of 1, which is bread. Okay. And again now item will increment by 1. So item will now become 2. 1 plus 1, 2. So when it becomes 2, it will again check is the condition true? Yes, it is true. 2 is less than 4. So again it will come and print shopping list of 2, which is milk. And then it will also print X in the next iteration. Okay, and now in the last iteration, item will become 4, right? So when item becomes 4, what will happen? It will check is 4 less than length of shopping list, which is 4. Is 4 less than 4? No, condition is now false. So when condition is false, it will come out of the while loop and it will not execute anymore. Okay, and also notice the indentation that we follow here again. These two statements, print and this item equal to item plus 1, are part of this while condition. So because of that, they have to be in the same indent. So this much space is given for print, same that much space should be given for the item line as well. Okay, let me run this. You see, we are able to iterate over all the items in the list. So this is how you use a while loop. So we have seen how to use for loops. We have also seen how to use while loops in Python while working with list and tuples. So even for tuples, you would do the same thing. So this is one of the most common things that you will do in Python, and it works on any sequence, whether it is a mutable list or an immutable tuple. Alright, so we have covered a lot of things in this video now. Now let's put it all together into practice and build a small mini project which will be a classic number guessing game. So we'll make use of everything that you have learned here, the variables, input, type conversion, conditionals, and loops. So what is this number guessing game? We will let the computer pick a random secret number between 1 to 10. And then we'll ask the user to guess that number. Now, when the user guesses the number, if the number is lower than the secret number that the computer has picked, we will say too low, try it again. And if it is greater than the secret number, we'll say it is too high, try it again. And we'll keep doing that until the user is able to guess the secret number. So when he guesses the secret number correctly, then we will say that yes, you got the secret number. That's what we want to do in this number guessing game. So let's implement this using all the things that we have studied in Python in this video. Alright, so here is our code. Let's understand this code line by line. The first line says import a random. So this random is actually a module in Python which gives us the functionality of getting a random number. So there are modules in Python which helps us to get this kind of extra functionality, which you can learn when you move ahead in your Python journey. So here I'm just introducing the concept of modules. We can import this kind of many inbuilt modules which we have in Python. Okay, now we want the computer to pick a secret number. So I'm going to assign that secret number to this variable called secret number. Again, this is any name that you can choose. We just call it secret underscore number. Now, I told you that we are making use of this random module. So here I say random dot rand int 1, 10. Now what this means is that a random number will be generated between 1 and 10, a random integer. That is why rand int. So random dot rand int, and within parentheses I say 1, 10 will generate a random integer between 1 and 10. And in order to do all this, we need to make use of this random module which we have imported here. So that is the reason why we are importing the random module. Okay, now we are making the computer print, I am thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Okay, so this is what will be displayed to the user. I am thinking of a number between 1 and 10, and we want the user to enter the number and try to guess it. So for that we are going to make use of a loop. Why a loop? Because we should give the user multiple chances to try. The user enters a number that he thinks is a secret number. If it is less than the secret number, we have to say it is too less. So he have to try it again. So in order to try it again, the loop has to run again. Again, that input has to be taken, right? So that is why we are going to make use of a loop. Now here we are going to make use of a while loop. Now here it says while true colon. Now what does this mean? In the previous while loop that I showed you that while is followed by a condition, and as long as the condition is true, the loop would be running again and again. But here I didn't type any condition, I just typed true. Now what does this true mean? This true means that this while loop is always true. That means you want it to run all the time. It should run again and again and again. And if it runs again and again, won't it run infinitely? No. We are going to give some condition for it to break inside the loop, which we will see. Alright, just know that this loop is going to run continuously for now. Now this loop is running, we enter the loop, and here we want to ask the user to guess the number. So we say, what is your guess? Okay, what is your guess? And then we are going to take that number that the user guessed using the input function, and we are going to store it into this variable called guessstr. Now the user guesses a number using input function. It is stored inside the guessstr variable. Now remember, again I told you, whenever we take an input using the input function, it is stored as a string. So we have to convert it to an integer in order to do math on it. Definitely here we are going to compare that number with the secret number. So some math operation is going to be performed. So we have to convert it to an integer, and that is what is happening in this line. So here we are converting that guessstr, which is this one, to an integer. So int guessstr, and that converted number is stored to this variable called guess. Okay, so whatever the user entered, it is converted to an integer and stored into this variable called guess. Now we have to check if the number that the user guessed is less than the secret number. So for that we use our conditional statement. We are going to make use of the if, elif, and else. So if guess is less than secret number colon. So this is the condition for the if statement, followed by the colon. So if guess is less than the secret number, we want to print too low, try again. So we print too low, try again. Now notice the indentation here. All of these are inside the while loop. So that is why this indentation is followed. This and all this if, elif, else are all inside the while loop. So this much space is given. Alright. Now when we come to the if part, this print statement is going to be inside the if condition. So that is why this indentation is given. This much space is given, which specifies that this is inside the if statement. So notice the indentation. Always keep in mind about indentation whenever you are typing any code on Python. Alright, now if the user entered a number that is less than secret number, we say too low, try again. Okay, and if this condition is true, what happens? It is not going to go to the elif, or it is not going to the else, it is just going to continue the loop again, because this loop is always true. So when this loop is always true, what will happen? Again, we will say, what is your guess? So the user gets a option to guess again. Now when he guesses again, the same thing happens. The guess is stored inside guess str, and that is converted to integer and stored to guess, and again we check what the user entered. Now if the number that the user entered is greater than our secret number, then we print too high, try again. Okay, so if guess is greater than secret number, colon, this is the condition. If this condition is true, we will say too high, your guess is too high, try again. And then it will not come to the else part, it will just run the loop again. Okay, now how long will this go on? This will go on until and unless he guesses the right number. Now when he guesses the right number, what happens? These two conditions would fail. Guess is not less than secret number, guess is also not greater than secret number. Now what is the condition that remains? Guess is equal to secret number. That is the only condition that remains. That's why we just put else here without writing condition. So if it comes to else means we print you got it, the number was, and we want to print the secret number which the computer had picked in random. So that is a variable stored inside the secret number. So we put it inside curly braces because we are making use of the F string to print that statement. Okay, and here you see we break from the while loop. When the user guesses the correct number, we break from the while loop. So then we come out of the loop and it prints thanks for playing, and our program ends. So I hope that is clear. Let's run and play this game once to see if it is working as expected. Okay, so I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. What is your guess? So this is what was printed first. Then here, what was your guess is printed, and it is waiting for the input now. Now let me give the input as 7 and press enter. And now it says too low, try again. So I also don't know what is the secret number that the computer has picked, but it says too low, try again. That means the number that we guessed, that is 7, is actually less than the secret number. So it is saying too low, try again. That means I have to give a greater number now. Okay, so what happened here? It didn't go to the elif and else. The loop ran again and it came to this part and it is saying what is your guess. So let me now enter my next guess, which is 9. Okay, now it again says too low, try again. It is not even 9. Now definitely I know it will be 10 because it is between 1 to 10. Let me press 10 and it says you got it, the number was 10. So the number that the computer picked was 10, and when we entered 10, this condition failed, this condition also failed. That means we picked the right number and it printed you got it, the number was secret number, which is 10, and it broke from the loop. The break statement was executed because the break is a part of the else, and this loop does not execute anymore, and we come out of the loop and it printed thanks for playing. Okay, now how do I know this print thanks for playing is outside the loop? Look at the indent. If this was inside while, then this would be something like this. It would look like this. But when I put the indent like this, it is outside the while loop. So that was our simple and humble number guessing game, making use of all the sections that we have studied in this video. Now look what you have built. We have imported the random module to get a random integer. We used a while true loop to keep the game going. We took the user input, we converted to an integer, and used our if, elif, and else logic to give the user hints. And when they get it right, we use the break keyword to exit the loop. Now run this game and play it a few rounds. This is a real working game. Alright, so just like that, an hour or a little over an hour is up. Now let's recap. You learned about printing variables, then data types, getting user inputs, f strings, if, elif, else logic, list, tuples, and loops, and you combined it all to build a fun number guessing game. That's an incredible achievement. Now Python is a deep and a powerful language, and your journey is just beginning. Your next step are to learn about functions to organize your code, dictionaries, another super useful data structures, and how to work with files. But the most important thing you can do now is practice. Modify the guessing game. Can you give the user a limited number of guesses? Here we were giving unlimited number of guesses. Can you make it limited? Or can you change the number range? the best way to learn is by doing. So keep practicing, and I hope this video helped you to at least get started with the absolute basics of Python. So you took a huge step today. You proved that you can do it. Now thank you for learning and happy coding, and see you in another video.